There are moments so small, so quiet, that they can reshape an entire life. For me, that moment arrived on an ordinary autumn afternoon in California, when I suddenly realized that for years my mind had been running endlessly, always reaching forward, never once pausing to truly inhabit the present. Everything changed the day I simply sat down, placed a hand over my chest, and felt a breath I had never truly noticed before. In that instant, a strange and gentle stillness opened inside me. Not an empty silence, but a clear seeing. The Buddha once said, "Amidst the rush of life, return to the breath, the refuge of awareness." That single breath became the doorway to a path I had been searching for without knowing. The path of training the mind, strengthening awareness, and unraveling the fog of stress, anxiety, and unconscious reaction. Welcome to Breath Journey, a place where we return to ourselves through breath, sensation, and honest presence. If you're seeking a space to cultivate inner calm, develop mental resilience, and explore the wisdom that already lives within you, I gently invite you to subscribe. One simple click, but it might just become the first step in your own quiet transformation. The breath is your compass, the mind is your garden, and this journey of training the mind, begins right here. As you settle into a comfortable position, let your shoulders drop as if releasing a weight you may have carried not just today, but for many years. Life in America, modern, full of opportunity, moves at a pace that pulls the mind forward endlessly. People often say everything here moves fast, except the breath, and that is why the journey of training the mind begins with something profoundly simple. Stopping long enough to recognize that you are alive right now. I've guided thousands of students from many cultures, and one truth always reveals itself. No matter who you are or where you come from, the structure of suffering is the same. We suffer not because of circumstances themselves, but because of the way the mind reacts to those circumstances. And to change the reaction, we must learn to see clearly. Vipassana teaches us to look deeply at reality, not through the lens of fear or desire, but through direct contact with what is happening. You don't need to be religious. You don't have to believe in anything mystical. All you need is presence. When you close your eyes and feel the breath flowing in and out, you've already taken your first step on the path of awakening. There is a line in the Satipatthana Sutta that I love. Mindfully, he breathes in. Mindfully, he breathes out. Thus he lives undistracted. It means that when you know your own body and breath, your mind becomes like a clear lake untouched by the winds of restlessness. Modern neuroscience has confirmed what the Buddha taught more than 2,500 years ago. The moment you observe your breath without trying to control it, the prefrontal cortex, responsible for focus, clarity, emotional regulation, begins to activate more strongly. At the same time, the brain's default mode network, the part that creates wandering thoughts like, "I'm not enough," "what if," or "I should have," begins to quiet down. The breath becomes an anchor whenever the mind tries to drift. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, you are training your mind, the same way someone strengthens a muscle, but this muscle is one you carry into every moment of life. Now feel your breath in this exact moment. Don't force it to be deep. Don't shape it into something special. Just sense it as it is. The inhale, the exhale, the rise in the chest, the soft movement in the belly, the cool touch of air at the nostrils. Many people think meditation means having no thoughts, but the mind's nature is to think. You don't need to silence it. What you can do is observe it with gentleness. When a thought appears, simply note, "Ah, a thought is here." You don't push it away. You don't chase after it. You just see it come and eventually see it go. This seeing is the beginning of wisdom. When I was young, I tried to force my mind into silence. I believed that if I fought hard enough, peace would come. But the harder I fought, the more restless I became. It took many years of practice to understand that the mind is like water. The more you try to flatten it, the more it ripples. But when you leave it alone, when you simply observe, it naturally becomes still. The Buddha taught, "Do not try to force the mind to be still. Simply observe it. In deep observation, stillness arises on its own." Neuroscience echoes this. Gentle, non-judgmental attention reduces the activity of the amygdala, the brain's fear center, allowing calm to arise naturally, not through effort. Students often come to me saying they want to train the mind to escape suffering. I always remind them, training the mind is not about becoming tough like a warrior, but becoming clear like a lantern. When you walk through fog, you don't need more strength. You need more light. Vipassana is that light. When you shine awareness onto your breath, your sensations, your thoughts, the things that once frightened you become observable. And once you can observe them, they no longer control you. Right now, feel your entire body as a gentle flow of energy. Maybe there's tension in the shoulders, heaviness in the chest, or a subtle vibration in the hands. Nothing is wrong. These are simply signals. You don't need to push them away. You just watch them. And within that watching, healing begins. Science calls this neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change itself. Every time you return to the breath instead of chasing anxiety, you are laying down a new neural pathway, a pathway toward peace. Training the mind is not about becoming rigid. It's about becoming spacious. A river doesn't resist the rocks in its path. It flows around them. It moves, adapts, embraces everything without losing itself. Your mind can be the same. When you observe your breath long enough, this natural flow awakens within you. Daily life, work, family, pressure, noise no longer feels like a weight crushing you. You become steadier, yet softer. This is the fruit of training the mind through Vipassana. Today, in this practice, I ask you to do just one thing. Breathe, and know that you are breathing. If thoughts rise, let them. If sensations shift, observe them. You don't need to achieve anything special. Presence itself is the doorway. Within presence lies clarity. Within clarity lies freedom. And within freedom lies the quiet wisdom you've carried inside you your whole life. Now that you've become more familiar with your breath, I want to guide you into a deeper layer of Vipassana, the realm of sensation. Many people believe sensations are simple things: pain, comfort, discomfort. But in truth, every moment of your life is woven from countless subtle sensations you are usually unaware of. Because you don't see them, the mind reacts automatically, and these reactions create the cycles of stress and suffering that feel endless. Training the mind means learning to notice what you previously ignored, so you can transform the way the mind responds. Let your attention drift down into the body like a warm, gentle light. You don't need to search for sensations, just allow them to reveal themselves. There may be a tightness in the shoulders, a slight pressure in the chest, a soft contraction in the belly. In Vipassana, these are called Vedana, feeling tones. The Buddha once said, "Not seeing feeling as feeling leads beings into liking and disliking, and thus into suffering." I didn't understand this fully when I first heard it, But after years of observing sensations in my own body, I realized that feelings are the birthplace of all reactions. Neuroscience explains the same truth in its own language. When a sensation appears, a little heat, a pulse, a heaviness, the amygdala immediately evaluates it as safe or dangerous. If it judges danger, your body reacts. Tension, shallow breathing, increased heart rate. Many people spend their entire lives in this reactive state, not because the world is dangerous, but because they have never learned to perceive the inner signals plainly. Vipassana doesn't change the sensations, it changes the reaction. And when the reaction changes, your entire life becomes lighter. Now, try observing something very subtle, not a strong pain or discomfort. Those are easy to notice. Choose a very small area, the center of your palm, under your eyelid, the space around your throat. You might feel a faint tingling, a rhythmic pulsing, or simply a quiet presence. If you don't feel anything, then not feeling anything is also a sensation. What matters is this: just observe. Don't label it as good or bad. Don't try to fix it. Don't try to make it go away. Simply watch. During my first Vipassana retreat, my teacher told me, observe sensations like a guest arriving and leaving. Don't cling and don't chase them away. I remember being young then, my mind restless, impatient. I wanted meditation to work, to produce something special. But the more I tried, the more agitated I became. It wasn't until the fourth day, after hours of silence, that the resistance suddenly softened. I realized the tension in my back was not the enemy. It was just a signal. And when I stopped fighting it, the tension softened, not disappeared, but softened. In that softening, I understood something important. When you stop fearing a sensation, it loses its power over you. Neuroscience calls this downregulating the amygdala. When you observe sensations without judgment, the amygdala, like a frightened child, begins to feel safe and stops sounding the alarm. In my teachings across the US, I often tell students that training the mind is not about fighting emotions. It's about creating enough space for emotions to rise and fall without swallowing you. That space is built through gentle, consistent observation, much like tending a garden day after day. Try this now. Choose one sensation clearly present in your body. Maybe pressure in your forehead, vibration in the legs, warmth in the belly. Watch it the way you would watch a change in weather. It comes, it shifts, it never stays the same. You'll begin to notice something profound. No sensation lasts. Everything moves. Everything arises and passes. This is the nature of impermanence the Buddha spoke of repeatedly. And when you begin to feel impermanence directly in your body, not as a philosophy but as a lived truth, your mind naturally becomes softer, less rigid. A student once asked me, "Master, how can I train my mind to be stronger?" I told him that the mind does not become strong by tightening. It becomes strong by letting go in the right way. Letting go of habitual reactions. Letting go of the urge to control every outcome. Letting go of clinging to pleasant sensations and resisting unpleasant ones. When you observe sensations, you practice this art of letting go. You are no longer pulled back and forth by "I like" and "I don't like." Instead, you stand in the position of the witness. And from that place, freedom arises. Research on Vipassana practitioners shows they handle physical pain more effectively, not because they feel less pain, but because they react less. They see pain as a wave. The wave rises. They observe it. The wave falls, they don't cling to it. The same applies to emotions and thoughts. Anxiety, anger, sadness. They still visit, but they no longer own you. They become waves rather than storms. Right now, inhale softly, exhale gently. Feel your whole body as a small living universe. Every vibration, every flicker of warmth or coolness, every whisper of movement is an opportunity to understand yourself more deeply. You don't need to analyze, just feel. In this act of feeling, of being fully present with what is, you are shaping your mind into something steadier, clearer, and freer. This is the heart of Vipassana, and this is how you train your mind, breath by breath, moment by moment. Now that you've grown more comfortable observing sensations, we can step into a deeper dimension of Vipassana, the place I call the space of freedom. This space isn't something outside of you, it's an inner quietness, a subtle stillness where you can watch everything happening in the mind without immediately reacting. In modern life, especially in American culture, where speed and constant pressure surround us, most people lose this space entirely. Someone says something, and irritation flares. A message appears on your screen, and anxiety rises. A small discomfort shows up, and the mind jumps to judgment. It's as if the mind operates like a switch, on or off, react or react, without room to pause. But training the mind is precisely the cultivation of that pause, that tiny gap where freedom becomes possible. Imagine your mind as a room. For most of your life, whenever something knocks, an emotion, a thought, a memory, you've opened the door instantly and let it in. But with Vipassana, you start creating a delay between the knock and the action. You hear the knock. You know something is arriving, but you no longer fling the door open. Instead, you observe from within. Here is anxiety. Here is fear. Here is an old memory. Here is irritation. And simply by seeing it, a quiet transformation begins. Neuroscience describes this process as top-down regulation, the higher, wiser parts of the brain guiding the emotional parts instead of being dominated by them. It's like choosing to take one conscious breath before replying to a difficult email or noticing the rise of anger before letting it spill into your words. That small pause, just a few seconds, can change everything. An argument becomes a conversation. A fear becomes a lesson. A tension becomes an insight. And the beautiful thing is, this pause can be trained. The Buddha taught, "Between stimulus and reaction lies freedom." Whenever I share this line in my teachings across the US, people often pause in recognition. It's simple, yet it contains the entire essence of Vipassana. The practice is not about eliminating stimuli. It's about expanding the space between what happens and what you do next. Every time you witness a reaction forming and choose not to follow it, you are training your mind. You are strengthening the pathway to inner freedom. And it is this freedom, not circumstances, that creates true happiness. Try noticing this now. Bring awareness to your breath, your body, and then to the movements of your mind. You might sense thoughts floating through. Am I doing this right? When will this session end? Am I improving? These thoughts are not wrong. They are simply clouds passing across the sky of awareness. What matters is not their presence, but your ability to notice them. The moment you see a thought as a thought, you are no longer inside it. You step into the position of the observer, wider, calmer, more spacious. And from this vantage point, no thought can pull you away. I recall a businessman from New York who once joined my retreat. He told me, "Master, my mind is like a crowded airport, planes everywhere, none of them landing." I smiled and said, "Your job is not to make the planes stop. Your job is to stand in the control tower and watch." After a week of practice, he returned to me and said, "I understand now. I don't have to stop thinking. I just don't have to chase the thoughts." That was his moment of awakening. When you realize thoughts can come and go without your participation, the whole landscape of your inner world changes. Science confirms this too. Each moment you observe without reacting, the brain builds new neural pathways that support calm, clarity, and better emotional regulation. It's exactly like strengthening a muscle. At first it feels difficult, but with each repetition, with each moment of awareness, the space grows wider. The mind becomes steadier, less easily shaken. Training the mind is not about becoming unfeeling or rigid. It's about becoming grounded, flexible, and wise. Now, listen carefully to your breath again. Notice the brief pause between the inhale and the exhale, a tiny moment where the breath stops, not forced, simply natural. That pause is a reflection of the inner pause we are cultivating. It's small, but it exists, and when you pay attention to it, it expands. The same is true with emotional space. Each moment you observe an emotion without reacting, the space inside you widens. There is a verse in the sutras that says, "As a person standing on a mountain watches the river below, so does the awakened one watch the flow of the mind." You don't stop the river. You don't fight the river. You don't cling to the river. You simply watch from a higher place. And from this higher place, everything becomes clearer. You see the beginning of a thought, the rising of a feeling, the fading of a memory. You see how everything changes, moment by moment, and in that seeing, you discover something profound. Nothing can disturb you unless you identify with it. Right now, take a gentle breath in and a long, soft breath out. You are stepping into the space between awareness and reaction, the birthplace of freedom, the foundation of wisdom, and the essence of training the mind. Stay here for a few moments and notice the vastness unfolding within you. Now that you've journeyed with me through the breath, through sensation, and through the quiet space between awareness and reaction, allow your mind to rest in what Vipassana calls abiding. Not abiding as in withdrawing from life or shutting the world out, but returning to the natural peace that has always lived inside you, like the sun, steady and radiant, even when clouds pass across the sky. After many years teaching meditation across America, I've learned that what people truly seek is not perfection, not success, but the simple ability to feel at home within themselves. And that inner home is built not by changing the world outside, but by understanding the world within. Take a moment to feel your body right now, your chest, your belly, your back, warmth, heaviness, movement, stillness. Every sensation is a sign of life speaking to you. Vipassana teaches us to observe all of this without interference, and that observation itself is a form of healing. In neuroscience, this gentle awareness activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the body's natural repair mode. The heart rate steadies, cortisol levels drop, the breath deepens. Your entire system shifts into restoration. This is not mystical, it's biological. When you observe without resisting, the body returns to its natural harmony. You are teaching your nervous system how to come home. In the scriptures, the Buddha said, "Within you is an island of refuge. Go to it." That refuge is not far away. It is this very moment, the moment you recognize your own presence. When I teach students in the bustle of New York or the buzz of Los Angeles, I remind them that peace is not found by escaping the world, but by learning to stand steady within it. You can live in the noisiest city and still be calm if you know how to observe. And you can sit in a quiet room and still be restless if you don't. Training the mind means building the ability to return to that inner island at any time. When someone says something hurtful, you return. When work becomes overwhelming, you return. When anxiety rises like a wave, you return. The breath is the boat that brings you back to shore. Sensations in the body are the compass, and awareness is the ground where you can stand without being swept away. Try this now. Inhale softly, exhale gently. Feel the breath as a companion that has been with you from the very first moments of your life. It asks for nothing. It demands nothing. It simply stays. When you were hurt, the breath stayed. When you were joyful, the breath stayed. When you felt lost, the breath waited for you to come home. Your breath is your oldest, quietest teacher, and when you train your mind by observing it, you learn a profound truth. Nothing needs to be hurried. Nothing needs to be perfect. Presence is enough. One of my students once told me that before meditation, he felt as if he was constantly running, even when he was sitting still. But as he practiced, he realized that life isn't a race. It's a path meant to be experienced, understood, awakened to. And Vipassana reveals that every moment, even the difficult ones, are opportunities to train the mind, to become brighter, steadier, and more free. Now, feel your entire being as a spacious field, open, effortless. Do not force stillness. Do not force peace. Peace is not the absence of discomfort. Peace is the willingness to be present with whatever arises. If you feel calm, observe calm. If you feel unsettled, observe unsettledness. Both are part of you. And when you learn to embrace everything without rejecting anything, that is when true abiding begins. Remember this: training the mind is not a one-day practice. It is a lifelong journey. Each day you spend a few minutes returning to the breath, feeling the body, witnessing the mind. You plant seeds in the garden of your inner world, and that garden will bloom in its own time, naturally. No rushing, no forcing, just patience. Before we close today's practice, I want to gently invite you. If this journey, this exploration of breath, awareness, and mind training has touched something within you, I warmly encourage you to subscribe to Breath Journey. This space exists to help you cultivate mindfulness, to slow down in a fast world, and to reconnect with the wisdom that has always been yours. Your subscription is not just a click, it is a quiet promise you make to yourself, a reminder of the path you are choosing. Take one more soft inhale and a long, gentle exhale. Peace is still here, and you can return to it any time.